all cheese. Aaron Halterman, this is Blinkers Off. What's up, dude?
Well, good evening or night, I could say, to everybody. Yeah, it's good to be back on the show. Boy, we got a ton going on in the background as we were getting ready. Just maybe 5 minutes before we got on air here, a $374 winner at Remington Park. And not an exacta, not a try. The win paid $374 for a $2 wage. I've never seen anything that high in my life.
Free pick winner at racingjuice.com,
Yeah.
right? That was it.
No, not even close. I was reading you off the past performance of this horse. Maybe one of the most unlikely horses to win of all time, and the price certainly reflected it. But unbelievable. Go watch the second race at Remington on a Thursday night. $374 winner.
Al Duel Day, what'd you say it was? Like a 2 to 5 shot.
Yeah, 2 to 5 shot comes down the lane, and they're kind of, the 2 to 5's ahead, and then the 3 rallies up the inside and wins. It was incredible to watch that unfold. And like I said, I've never seen a price that high.
Well, we got Thursday Night Football going on as well. Maybe not as exciting as last week's season opener Thursday Night Football game. Of course, that was unbelievable. That's the thing about that game last week between Tampa and Dallas. We may not see a game that good all year, right? And that was week 1, first game of the year. They looked like they were like week 15 form. Tonight we have New York and the Washington football team. Maybe not quite as high scoring.
No, and also, does it not feel like that game between Dallas and Tampa was like 3 years ago? It does for me. It doesn't feel like that was last week.
Well, listen, especially for you, because you've really been doing a lot of the sports side as well. It's like whenever you have the horse racing going on, you have college football games, you got NFL games. A lot's happened since that game. A lot's happened.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's been a lot happen in this first quarter, let alone in between that last Thursday night game and this one for sure. Yeah, it's definitely, that was a great game to get us going. Really, the football last weekend, both college and the NFL, was just great. And if we can get that every week, we're going to be in heaven for the next 16 weeks plus playoffs. So. Yeah, it's been great. By the way, racing last weekend sucked. I won't lie to anybody. I thought it sucked. I was bored as hell with it. I'm super stoked for this weekend, though. I think we're back in a big, big way this weekend. Belmont has great races. Woodbine, Churchill Downs. It's awesome.
So help me. Let's talk through this together, because I know you and I are on the same page when it comes to Kentucky Downs. Like. It's a great, it's like I don't know what you would describe it as, but it's just, for me, I love every track and racing, maybe not the smaller ones like you, but it lacks, like, I can't like describe it, but I don't get, even if my picks, like if I have money on it, I just can't, I have a hard time getting excited ever when I watch racing there. And because it's like, to me, it's almost like, it's almost like what happens at Kentucky Downs stays at Kentucky Downs. So there's no like, oh my gosh, that performance by Nick Sko was unbelievable. What can he do? And it's like, what happens at Kentucky Downs? You're like, well, I don't even remember who won that race. I don't care who won that race. And so for me, I have a hard time getting super excited. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't do it for me anymore.
I like it in the moment, I guess, when you're watching it. Well, no, I'm not going to lie. Forget it. I don't give a fuck about Kentucky Downs. I never have and I never will. How about that? I really just don't care what happens there. I don't really like watching races there. I never can really tell what's going on. If Kentucky Downs was the only track in horse racing, I wouldn't be a horse racing fan. How about that?
Well, you went there. I think you successfally laid.
I'm sorry. I
was trying to like pave the way a little bit, sugarcoat it, but no. I mean, you went, and really, that's probably how much I feel about it as well.
I mean, I told you the first day they were running, and it's just like, I don't give a shit about this track. And the other problem with Kentucky Downs, and this may be its biggest problem, it comes up right after Saratoga and Del Mar. So it's kind of a little bit of a quote unquote bounce mentally that week after that. I don't really want to get into Kentucky Downs anyway. Then you watch it and it just kind of sucks and you just never really know. And stupid, weird shit happens at the track
all the time.
Photos don't seem to be accurate, even though they probably are. And just the camera angles are so weird and you can't watch the races very well. Sorry, I'm not a fan. Never have been, never will be.
Well, it's just like you can't take anything from what you see. Like, does anything change in your opinion about God Stormy before that race?
No.
Or after that race? Anything?
No.
It's nothing. Like, you can't look at that and say, "Well, she ran awful at Kentucky Downs. She's not going to touchdown Washington." Look at that.
Yep.
Like, Heineke looked pretty damn good on that drive.
Mm-hmm.
But no, you just can't take anything because it's like you don't look at it like, well, she ran terrible at Kentucky Downs. I don't know if I'm gonna pick her in the Breeders' Cup now, and vice versa. Say she wins and romps, like, oh, she like, or who? Like, I don't even. I couldn't tell you. Like, none of these horses are gonna be interesting to me when it comes to the Breeders' Cup, and I think that's the overall picture. Because even though we have these Breeders' Cup races, like this weekend, we have a ton of action. Obviously, Churchill Downs back. Belmont, we're back at Belmont. Like, the racing's awesome. We can start to kind of dive into these races. Like, say, these horses have legit shots in the Breeders' Cup, and these are good quality prep races. The Downs doesn't do it for me, man.
No, I don't care what happens there. Period. I don't care what God Stormy did. I don't care if God Stormy won by 12 or lost by 20. I don't care.
And like Mark said, like at first it was like this cool little, for me, this is just me, like this is my opinion. It was like this cool little niche meet thing in the middle of nowhere, the big field and the undulations, and it was, you know what I mean? We don't have anything quite like that. It was fun, and it was a quick short meet. And it just seems like it's almost like one of those things. It's better to be. It was better before it was cool. You know what I mean? Like
Okay, I want to stop you. That's a good point. Back when the horses, they didn't run like really good horses there. It was a little more fun.
Yeah.
Because it felt like a small track. Now it just feels like a small track trying to do big things with big horses, and they just don't belong in those at that track and in those races.
Yeah, massive purses that just make no sense and kind of just completely jumbles up what you're logically thinking as that race. Because I mean, for me personally, especially this time of year, yeah, I'm looking to cash bet race by race. But when it comes to our job is to try to pick winners for the Breeders' Cup and trying to really find out who we like or who we're looking forward to. We're already obviously making our lists and who we like, and it's like I have a hard time getting behind these races. So. By the way, not Kentucky Downs. It's done. We said like 10 times. I feel like on different shows, you definitely led the parade as they were leaving that place, and that's a perfect analogy. Real quickly, we have to talk about the Monday night game, right? Like, in all of my years, I'm not sure I've ever seen a game quite like that game. And talk about can't polish a turd, Mark. Yeah, you can't follow. That was basically how that game was. Like it was like I don't know what I saw. I don't think I liked what I saw, but at the same time, I loved watching it.
I don't know how to describe that one. That was just a wild game. Only in Vegas, right? That's maybe the way to describe it. It was a game that was very boring for the longest time, and then very entertaining the last quarter in the overtime. I'm not sure what either team is coming out of it. I'm not sure what either team was going into it. And I think that's the biggest takeaway, especially now with the Dudes Who Bet Sports Show and trying to pick these games every week. That's one Papa Dude and I talked about today on the show, and then we stayed away as far as, hey, these are the games we're playing. We didn't touch this one. Talking about the Vegas going up against Pittsburgh, and it's like, okay, Vegas won, but we still don't know who they are type of thing. I think we know kind of who the Ravens are. They got a running back playing quarterback, and they got a lot of injuries, and they're not going to be very good until they accept that they've got a running back playing quarterback.
Well, dude, when it was like, it was just the crazy, like, it was just, I couldn't believe what you were seeing whenever they thought they won the game and he's down the 1 yard line. I was like, this is going to be so Raiders, right? Even before anything else happened, I was like, this is going to be so Raiders because these guys are going to have a hell of a time punching this in. Well, and then the penalty comes, and you're like, they're not going to score here. And then the guy, give it to Derek Carr. He threw a strike, goes right through Snead's hands, hits a guy off the helmet, and pops up in the air. The interception. You're like, I can't even. you couldn't even draw that up. And then the Ravens, the running back playing quarterback, fumbles the ball for the second straight time. I mean, he did 2 costly fumbles in that game, late in that game. It was just like Dan says, the game nobody deserved to win, and nobody really wanted to win, it seemed like.
No. Well, I told you when they called that touchdown back for the Raiders and they're at the 1. What did I text you? I said David Carr, he'll fumble the snap for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that didn't quite happen, but they still turned it
almost.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love I love my favorite part of the whole thing was at the very, very end, after they won, after he threw like this completely missed coverage, and the Raiders won the game, and he is running downfield, celebrating, like I knew it. It's like, really? I think I would just walk off the field at that point, because you had that thing gift wrapped to you 10 times, and because you were playing the Ravens, I guess. I don't know. It was the weirdest thing. We probably won't ever see a game quite like that in terms of how it ends.
Yeah. It was that wrapped up just a crazy week of football in the NFL. All the games were nuts last weekend. So hopefully we get it again. Listen, right now we got 2 shitty teams on Thursday night, but it's still a really good game. So it's that first week's been a lot of fun.
Dudes Who Bet Sports, new podcasts we have going on our network. Just check it out on all your major networks, or on your major podcast networks. Obviously ads on Apple, so go download that. If you're listening to Blinkers Off, you want sports picks, of course, Halterman and his dad do that show every week, and they cover everything from college football to NFL. So we'll try to phase out this. I mean, we are football guys. I'm a football guy, so we will talk about football in here, but we'll try to phase out all the talk of football, because, hey, like we say, we have a podcast for that now. So, all right, we got a big show. We will get it. Let's get to horse racing. So what we're going to do on this is a little different, because it's like, okay, we have 6 preps, 6 win and you're in races this weekend, but what do these races actually mean? So not only are we going to give you picks, we're also going to look at each race by race, and say, what are the implications for this actually as we move forward into the actual Breeders' Cup? Does this race matter? Are we looking for, who we like? Do we like this race? Has it got depth? We'll give you kind of our thoughts on that as well as hopefully pick some winners. So let's get to it this weekend. Belmont, Churchill, Woodbine, 6 combined Saturday through Sunday, 6 combined Breeders' Cup winning or in events. A lot of juvenile races, so we got lots to uncover for that as well. Let's go.
It's too funny. That game just was nuts.
I mean, I'll be honest. I was I'd been out mowing, and I was like, I watched the beginning of it. I was finished up mowing in the yard and stuff and cleaning up, and I was like, and I wasn't too, and I'm glad I didn't, because the game was somewhat boring for a lot of it. But then once I sat down, it seems like, it's like that commercial with the Buffalo Wild Wings, like press the button, like let's keep this thing going, just press, let's throw it off somebody's helmet, or let's Lamar fumble it. Like, all right, so
yeah,
it was crazy. Oh, dude, yes, that should you mentioned that, Dan. Unbelievable. The Manning feed is something. If they don't do that every week, then they're the dumbest network in television, because that was fascinating to watch. Anybody who loves college football, loves football in general, like, how could you have not liked that?
The days of the announcers are coming to an end. I think people would rather watch that than a couple guys call the game and act kind of like they know what they're doing when they don't. Like, and we've seen that, you look at like Barstool Sports, they'll put a feed up of some guys watching the game that are big fans or whatever, or they've got a bet on the game. And my goodness, you get on there and there's, 5,000 people watching that feed. I think people would rather watch that. It felt just like you were sitting there with your boys watching the game. I think that's going to get more and more popular.
Honestly, I turned it on to the regular feed at first, and I remembered how much I hated that crew on Monday Night Football, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot the Mannings were doing that thing, so I flipped it over to ESPN2, And at first, it took me a second to kind of, because you kind of lose the game aspect, because you don't lose it, but you know what I mean? You don't have that audio of what you're like I wish they would pump a little more like of the crowd. Like, I wish they could just have all the game feed, because it seemed like it was a little bit quieter, which was fine because you need to hear the Manning and Russell Wilson talk. So that took a little bit for me to get used to. But once I got used to it, like I was just like found myself fascinated with like when of course then you have their brothers, so of course they have this amazing chemistry and interaction. It's hilarious. But just them talking about coverages and what happened and what what they should have done, and being quarterbacks and being in those situations. And I don't know, and having Russell on there as well, was obviously is a much more mobile quarterback than the Mannings were for sure. So it was just unbelievable. If they don't continue to do that, I would be interested. I don't know if anybody saw the ratings on. I mean, was it higher than the actual feed?
Well, Dan's saying the ratings weren't very good. That surprises me, because it seemed like everybody on Twitter was watching and loving it. So that's interesting that they weren't very good.
Maybe it's super top heavy. You know what I mean? Like maybe the real like the real guys, the real girls, ladies, or whatever that love to watch football.
Well, to be completely fair, I had no idea it was happening. Our friend Ryan texted me and said, "Hey, the Mannings are on ESPN2." I said, "What the hell are you talking about? Like the Mannings? I don't watch the Mannings. It's football. I'm watching a football game." No, they're watching the game. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
So maybe people didn't know about it.
I knew it was happening this year, but I'll be honest, I didn't know when it was until I saw our group text or whatever, and I was like, "You guys were talking about the Mannings, and I was like, "Oh, that's tonight, sweet." So, yeah, it's I don't know if they were not what it's ESPN, so I'm sure they'll go the wrong route there.
Yeah, for sure.
And won't bring it back. Like they'll do it like one more time this year or something. But it's just like a couple. What it is it's a couple guys, 3 guys. You're watching guys watch football who happen to be all Hall of Famers, basically. Yeah. Russell Wilson's going to be a Hall of Famer. Eli, you go back and forth on that. I think he is, and of course Peyton is. So. Yeah. It was like we watching us watch football only like a million times better. So
right.
But no, you realize how much you don't know about football when you listen to the Mannies talk. You know what I mean? Yeah. You thought you knew football until you listen to these guys talk, and you're like, yeah, that's just the mind of
yep,
of what they're going, how they're talking or whatever. Is just a whole other level. So,
yeah.
All right. Let's urologist. You can help with your prostate. That's the wrong screen. So yeah, if you guys have any, hit us up with your questions, and we're gonna go through these. We're gonna go Belmont, Churchill, Woodbine, and then we have two at Woodbine on Sunday. All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, so this weekend we have 6 Breeders' Cup winning arena events for the course of Breeders' Cup World Championships is happening this fall at Del Mar, November 6th and 7th. Coming up, and of course, we are in the final stretch here, and these horses are, the final qualifying stretch, and we have obviously this many to talk about. We're going to go through each race one by one, give you our thoughts, give you our picks, and we're also going to just add in a little bonus on each one. We're going to call it our Breeders' Cup implications. So what that means is, what does this race actually mean? Is it something that, like, even if we pick the winner and the 2 or whoever looks awesome, does it mean anything? Do we really think this is a good race that's going to matter towards the Breeders' Cup, whatever race they're going to qualify for? So we're going to kind of give you our grades on each race one by one to kind of get a better indication of how strong we think these races will be. We'll kick things off at Belmont Park. That's right, Belmont Park is back. Race 10 on Saturday, the John Club Derby Invitational. It's $1 million race for 3-year-olds going 1.5 miles on the turf. And look, our favorite boy, number 8, Bolshoi Ballet. This horse was right. I was right the first time on him. I was definitely wrong the second time on him. He's 5-2. He's co-favorite, or I'm sorry, he's co-second favorite with Soldier Rising for Clement, 2-1 on Yabir for Appleby. Appleby's got. We're gonna talk about Appleby a lot on these challenge races. Haltern, what do you think of the race?
Yeah, I'm gonna. I didn't pick Bolshoi Ballet either time, but I'm actually gonna pick him here. I think he's gonna bounce back and run a little bit better. I was obviously wrong 2 races back at Belmont when he easily won the Belmont Derby. I was right to try to go against him at Saratoga. But I just thought he got a weird trip. Like he was like up contesting the pace there. And I don't really know why he was doing that. It just didn't make a lot of sense to me. I think if he gets more of his normal trip, I think it's going to make the difference. And I think he'll win this race. I think the field's a little bit tougher for him for sure. I think there's some really good European horses, some of which did make one start here in the United States, some of which are new for the first time. But I'm going to go right back to the 8 horse here and give him one more shot. And listen, we're going to get the price. He was even money the last 2 races. I think he's every bit of 5-2 after that kind of clunker at Saratoga. He's back at Belmont. We know he likes it here. So I'll take the 8 horse to kick us off here.
Well, surprised. I didn't think you, after you went against him at Saratoga and you were right to, I kind of thought you might, jump ship there. But obviously he's back. He's one of the few horses, if not, I don't know that I've top of my head. Let's see. Yeah, he's the only horse. How about that? He's the only horse to run in all 3 races of these Belmont Derby, Saratoga Derby, and then the Jockey Club Derby. So it's kind of interesting that they keep running him in these races. Obviously, that was the biggest factor for me that I didn't pick him, but that's my biggest fear of him winning is that, okay, he does like Belmont. But, his numbers weren't overly strong, and it kind of feels like he's good, not great. Maybe that's all it takes here. I don't know how great or good of a horse he is. So I kind of went with the new shooter, so to speak, the new Euro shooter, because I think that's what it's going to be between the 2 in the 8. Yabir for Appleby, and of course J.B. Spencer comes in to ride. Listen, I think this horse is a little more in the wheelhouse of this distance. I like this horse going longer the better. Going a mile and a half. Of course, won last time out at York. At going a mile and a half at 2 starts, has 1 win. Kind of has a clunker in there too back. But this horse, obviously, if you talk about a grade 2 at York and winner, that's definitely in the category of what we're going to be running here, if not much of a class relief. So I think the 2 is an unknown. For Godolphin seems to be unleashing some of their final kind of turf horses over this, like the last couple of weeks. Like, seems like we're going to see some real stars possibly. So I'm going to go with more of the unknown here. Do you agree that it's kind of between Soldier Rising? I'll throw him in there because I think that horse was really good in the Saratoga Derby, just kind of, state of rest, which is better, frankly, but ran a big number in the Saratoga Derby. Obviously, that was the first start for Clement from overseas. Got to think the horse is eligible to improve. So I think the 4 is interesting. To me, it's between the 2 Euros and the former Euro, the 4, don't you think?
Here's the deal. It's all about the pace. The 4 obviously was very good in the Saratoga Derby, and I'm not going to take that away from that horse. I thought he was very good. But he fell to last. He got the hot pace. They all kind of came back to him a little bit. Now the question is, if this pace kind of lightens up, I don't know what kind of kick he's going to have. You would think second over here in the United States, horse is going to run better. Clement, Ortiz, you don't have to worry about that. That's solid. But I don't know what he'll do if they get a normal, quote unquote, normal Naira pace. I'm not sure the 4 can beat the 8.
What about the 3? Vinny throws in the 3, which is also a former Euro horse, ran in the Belmont Derby, got second that day to Bolshoi Ballet, but ran a really good race. Tokyo Gold is the name, and that Dave Velasquez rode. Of course, he's back to ride again, so that's a decent sign. Horse showed a lot of some signs in that race. Came from off the pace big time, but just wasn't as good as Bolshoi that day, obviously. But what about the 3? Any interest there at 8-1? Do you want price maybe?
Honestly, the way I look at this, you could probably play 2, 3, 4, 8, and you're completely safe, right? I mean,
there's a flag.
The other 4 horses in this race, absolutely. I mean, I have no shot. So I think you play 2, 3, 4, 8 and get away with it. If you're expecting the 3 to get better, second off of or second time in the United States, I should say, yeah, it could work out. But really was no match for the 8. How do you turn the tables? Well, maybe the 8 just doesn't run quite as well as he did last time out, and then at the 3, gets that 8-1 price and it's just a little better than the 2 and the 4, then all of a sudden you're in business. But I thought about the 3 for a long time, Tokyo Gold, but I still ended up just leaning on the 8 a little bit too much, or a little too hard to take a shot with the 3 here.
Okay, so I like the 2. You like the 8. I like the 8 too. I mean, I think you got to use the 8, the 3, the 4. So we're all over the place a little bit in terms of it. I think it's a little lukewarm. So let's look at the race in general. So my top pick is the 2, Yabir. Your top pick is the 8, Bolshoi Ballet. But what does this race mean? Let's give our grades for this race. How promising is this race possibly?
I think this race means very little when it comes to the Breeders' Cup. I have it ranked as a D. I don't hate this field, but you got to think of, there are some monsters that are going to be in this field, or in the field they're going to have to face at the Breeders' Cup. The turf is no easy race to win, especially for a 3-year-old. So yeah, I've got to go against any of these horses making much of an impact in that turf at the Breeders' Cup. So it's a D for me.
Yeah, this one for me, as you can see there, is a D plus. So I'll be a little more generous than you, but yeah, I mean, because again, like the way I went through these, it's like, okay, can the horse match up with Gofo? Can the horse match up with Domestic Spinning? Can the horse match up with, who's going to come over? Even Trubavan, Channel Cat, United. These, I mean, still, like, I just don't see a lot here. And I just listed off like 4 or 5 horses, so it just seems like there's a lot to be desired, and especially when it's talking 3-year-olds. It's not, you're gonna have to be a superstar type of turf horse to come and win the turf, right? It is just that it's that hard. So I'm with you. I don't think this race is overly strong in terms of Breeders' Cup implications, but you and I are going D and D plus, and you got the 8. I've got the 2. All right, let's move on to. Let's go to Churchill Downs. Let's go to Pocahontas. This might be a little bit. I don't know. Let's see what your take is here. All right. 3, 2, 1. All right, let's go to race 8, the Pocahontas Stakes, grade 3 at Churchill Downs. That's right. Churchill Downs is back. $300K for fillies, 2-year-olds going mile 16th on the main track there. Field of 11 lines up here. And listen, this is when you have, to me, I'll just be honest. When you have a horse like the 4 that's a 5-2 favorite, that's on the 1s and 2s, a horse that you might remember from Saratoga. If that horse is the favorite, I think it kind of tells you what the depth, kind of the quality of this field. I'm having a hard time getting there with this one.
Is like weed legal now in the state of Kentucky? Do you have any idea?
I don't know. I don't think so. Well, I don't think so.
I don't know. Maybe I'm high right now, but I just don't see any way this horse is the morning line favorite. And I don't think it's
I know, right?
Either. I thought I scratched my head with this one. But you know what, Jared? This race is a fucking mess, really. I mean, you could really just go around in circles over and over and over and drive yourself nuts with this one. I was between 2 6-1 shots, both of which could be the favorites, I think. The 2 Goddess of Fire for Todd Pletcher, pretty nice debut winner at Saratoga. And then the 6 Maxine Machine for Brad Cox. And the 6 is actually who I ended up landing on here. Debuted at Ellis Park on the turf going 1 mile, which kind of tells me they wanted this horse at 2 turns because they throw her into the dirt race here. So I don't think it was as much as they thought the horse was a turf horse, more than they just wanted her to go longer. I think this is a spot where Brad Cox, has a lot of success. I see a lot of speed in the race, which has me a little worried about the 2. I think the 6 can kind of sit mid-pack, make that move. and get the job done. So I went number 6, Maxine Machine. I think you could go a lot of different ways. One way I would not tell you to go is the 4. I don't want the 4 at 10-1, let alone 5-2. So
yeah,
I would, if I were you, if you don't like my picks of the 2 or the 6, I would at least try a new shooter, so to speak, not a horse that we've seen get blasted in a couple of stakes races already.
I'll be honest. Like I did this. I handicapped my first look, anyways, last night before the odds were out. So I knew the 4 would be low just because of the the stakes races at or the stakes race at Saratoga, even the quality. Never did I think this horse would be 5-2. The morning line favorite. Like I thought 5-6-1. I mean, really, and that's honestly probably where she deserves to be. I thought she looked terrible, especially last time out, and even in her loss at Churchill Downs 2 back. I mean, she was okay, but it wasn't great. There does seem to be a lot of speed in the race, so that is interesting to me. If you can get 6-1, like if I can lock in 6-1 on the 2 Goddess of Fire, I think that's pretty damn interesting because that horse could be a lot of different things. But ultimately, I'm surprised, maybe a little surprised. Maybe it's Brad Cox. I went with the 6 too. That's who I ended up landing on. I just think that turf to dirt form sometimes works really, really well for Brad Cox, and he actually hits at 31%, so it definitely works well. You got to know sometimes, especially at Ellis. The Ellis, the Churchill, not like it's like the horse probably just needed to start. The horse ran fine on turf. Now, obviously, Pioneer and Nile, they may have said all along the plans were to run on dirt. To go from that to this, I think is a big sign. Of course, you get Halterman's favorite jockey right now, Flo, riding, so that's a great sign as well. I'm surprised you picked her because of that. But 6-1, I think she'll be coming home late. I think that's the other thing. She the distance wise going, that's the other. You wonder sometimes with these horses going to a mile 16th. A lot of them have been running at 6 furlongs, 6.5. Most of the time, that's usually where they're coming from, 5.5 sometimes. This horse ran and debuted at a mile. Obviously, the way this horse is bred, you got to think it's not going to matter, right? Like as far as going longer. So as long as the horse can run, I think she's got a big time shot at that price. What about the 9? How interested are you in the 9 Hidden Connection?
Well, kind of the unknown of the race, right? A huge maiden special weight win at Colonial Downs. Looked really sharp in that race. I think you need to go deep here, and I think the 9 is one you have to put on the ticket because of that. The horse is by Connect out of an Awesome Again mare, so you would think the two turns will be just fine. Brett Calhoun has had a lot of success in these type of races at Churchill Downs with 2-year-olds in general. So I like the 9. Thought about playing the 9, or picking the 9 to win, I should say. I will play the 9, but in the end, just a little too iffy on. Okay, what exactly is this horse? So I think it's a use for sure. Interested to see what happens. The other problem is, boy, coming out of that sprint race, she ran pretty fast early. I think she's on the lead here, and will she be patient enough? Will she be able to set fractions that will allow her to hold on? I think that's the big question. But she's interesting, no question about that.
Yeah, our speed rating was really good in that race, and again, you go from Colonial Downs to this. That's obviously, but Connect is obviously a Curlin type, bloodline. So you got to think going long, like you say, and maybe Brett Calhoun might be kind of trying to sneak one in here, and if you get somewhere in the ballpark of 5-1 or something on her, might not be the worst thing. You know what I mean? So I would use her if I could. I'd rather. I think this is where you go price hunting a little bit. Like it's one of those races, and I talk about this a lot. Like where the top half seems really bad. Like as far as the higher, like I don't see how the 8 wins. I don't see. I don't like. I mean, Wits McPeak, I guess it gives you. I don't like the 1. I don't like the 3. So I think it's like top heavy in terms of. So don't go too price hunting, in my opinion. So what are your thoughts on the implications? So what does this mean? We both had the 6 Maxine Machine to win at 6-1. Clearly, looking at the picture there, we don't like this this race much either.
No, I don't think it means a whole lot. I don't think you've got real good horses in here. The only one that I don't know, that Goddess of Fire is interesting if she kind of progresses, and the Brad Cox horse that we both pick, they're interesting prospects. But I really think with a guy like Brad Cox, we saw it kind of last year with Essential Quality. He's kind of targeting those Keeneland races to kind of get those horses springboarded to the Breeders' Cup. I don't think it's going to be here. I don't like a ton in this race moving forward to the Breeders' Cup, so it's a D for me.
Yeah, I went D- as well because I mean you got like Echo Zulu waiting for you, or Grace Adler waiting. I mean those are like obviously the big two players. I don't Echo Zulu. I feel like could dominate. Would this should be 1 to 9 in this race. So I just don't. That's and that's kind of the bottom line. Like how much impact can any of these horses make? I do agree if there is a horse, it's the 2, right? Because it's the Pletcher. Horse looked really good on debut. If the horse makes another big improve here, runs really well, yeah, I think the horse might be interesting.
Here's the deal. I like Goddess of Fire, and John Velasquez rode this horse on debut. If he thought this horse was like really good,
yeah, he would be. Yeah,
and I get that he's got mounts at Naira and he's got good mounts at Naira, but if he thought this horse was really good, like upper echelon, he would be here. Also, because Pletcher has a horse in the next race too that he probably could have been on. So yeah, I don't think these are Pletcher's best that he's sending down to Churchill.
All right, let's go to race 9. This is the Iroquois Stakes. It's a grade 3 next race on the card at Churchill Downs on Saturday. We're $300K for 2-year-old males going mile 16th. On the main track there. Maybe we have some opportunity here. Maybe we can turn this around because our what we think of these races so far has not been strong. Field of 11, like I said, and again, it's similar pricing, but maybe horses that you are a little more interested in. Number 6, Stellar Tap, of course, the horse that dominated at Saratoga while we were there to help Asmussen break the record, the training record. 3 to 1, morning line favorite. 4 to 1, a major general for Pletcher. 9 to 2 on Guntown, another Asmussen horse, and then Bourbon Heist for Ian Wilkes all the way to the outside at 9 to 2. Those are your main contenders. But let's start with Stellar Tap. This horse, obviously, we were there. I picked him to win that day at like whatever he was, 5, 6 to 1. He looked awesome. It was obviously a great moment that we were there to see this him break the record. Asmussen. This horse the point is this horse is always going to have that attached to him, at least right now, while he's somewhat unknown as a 2-year-old. What could he be? Could that horse be the next Derby winner? That's the horse, you know what I mean? So there's a lot riding on the horse other than the fact that like he might be pretty good too. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, this horse is going to always, I think you said it last night to me. Yeah, we were talking about it. And you said this horse is always going to have kind of that outside, not that the horse cares, but going to have that outside pressure of this was the horse, that broke the record for Asmussen. It was a promising 2-year-old, blah, blah, blah. Listen, I think the talent level of this race is much better than the Pocahontas. Here's the deal, though. When it comes to the Breeders' Cup, this has not been that productive of a race. As far as producing Breeders' Cup winners. Not this time, though, came out of this race and almost won. Got beat by Classic Empire at the Breeders' Cup, so it's not impossible. I think the timing always made sense for Stellar Tap to come to this race. He broke the maiden on Whitney Day up at Saratoga, and I think at the time they looked at that hopeful and they thought, well, you got Whit there, and I don't know, we'll just wait till Churchill stretch this horse out. I think Stellar Tap, I came into this trying to beat this horse. I think he looks pretty darn good here. I think Stellar Tap's going to get the job done. I watched his replay again. He went fast early, but he didn't seem to be the type that had to have the lead. I think he can kind of sit off of it if he has to. And if he gets on that lead, I don't think he just has to burn up the track to get there. I'm going to go Stellar Tap on top, but I do think his stablemate, Guntown, is a really interesting horse. Won by 4 last time out at Ellis. I'm interested in that horse. Tyler Gaffleone gets aboard. Good sign there. The Pletcher horse, Major General, not too bad. Got some interest in that horse as well. But I will go with Stellar Tap on top. He looked pretty darn good in that first race.
Yeah, this is an interesting. Chris says, I remember Winston on Go win this race last year, having a brutal 3-0 campaign. And this is kind of the interesting thing about this race. The Iroquois being Let's read the last several. Sitting on Go, This Moment, Caro Cat, Tabulator, Not This Time, Cocked and Loaded, Lucky Player, Claiborne, Uncaptured, Motor City. I mean, like,
So
it
Not This
seems
Time
like
is the only one that's any good.
I know exactly, and it's interesting that it hasn't produced anything. Like, it seems like in years past, the Pocahontas has been much more productive, in terms of setting them up as in the Breeders' Cup, and as 3-year-olds than this race certainly has. I'm with like. And here's the thing, like, I'm having a hard time. I'm obviously a little biased with Stellar Tap because we were there, and and I made money on him, and he's a cool looking horse, and it's got a lot to like. And now he runs in this race. He looks so good. The numbers. Then you look back, he dominated that race, beat the hell out of Keep Calm Carry On, who came back to really run well and win at Saratoga the next time out. Stretched out and ran really, really well. This horse ran at 7 furlongs on debut. Of course, stretching out to mile 16th is Tap It. That's not going to matter. It's a ton to like. Like, I just think this horse is going to be the goods here. Major General is another. It's kind of, we talked about the last race, how the other Todd Pletcher seems interesting. Yeah, this horse does too. Showed speed as well, so you kind of wonder, but I don't think he's got the speed that Stellar Tap has. And on top of that, Stellar Tap, he doesn't necessarily, I don't feel like, need to go to the lead if he doesn't have to. And so if Major General goes, Stellar Tap just sits off. So I like the horse longer, number 6, Stellar Tap, than I do Major General. So that's ultimately why I went with that at 3-1. And I think, you do have the likes of, Goodnight and Pinehurst and High Oak, I guess. And I mean, obviously Goodnight and Pinehurst are your big ones, right? Pinehurst is the big one, especially out west. I don't know, man. I think Stellar Tap, if he wins here, he could be primed up to run a big one in the Breeders' Cup.
I think so too. I don't have any opposition to that. Again, it's just historically they haven't done very well out of this race, but this race just seems tougher than the last 3 or 4 years that we've seen. So I'm not against that. I think it'll be interesting because Asmussen also has Goodnight, and who's better, Goodnight or Stellar Tap? We'll see what happens in this race. Maybe Asmussen can have 2 or 3. And like I said, don't sleep on Guntown. That horse looked really, really good second out. So we'll see what happens with them. I'm not against that thought process, though, that this could be a race that produces a couple quality runners for the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, and as we sit here, you and I have got this race. I've got the implications for the Breeders' Cup as a B. You got it as a B-. So we're pretty much on the same page. And it's not just because of Stellar Tap, like you say, Guntown. I mean, they're both Asmussen trained, and he's a gun runner horse, $750,000. I mean, obviously there was much more, thoughts or at least hopes from the 9. If you look at price, it's a Winchell horse. Didn't look great on debut. Looked awesome last out. So yeah, I mean, you got to think too. Like, if Stellar Tap is a lock, he's probably not going to run Guntown in the race. Run them both. And I do think there is. It seems like and I also think it's so top heavy with Pinehurst and Goodnight, which you can go both ways on Goodnight if you want. Maybe Witt is in if you like Witt still, but still, like, it definitely seems like we're still looking for maybe another player to jump in here, because it definitely seems like while Pinehurst looked good, who knows, right? So I think we're still looking a little bit. That's why I think the prospects in this race seem to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we had it. I think you had B-. I had it at B, or was it the other way around? I can't remember. Yeah. I had B-. You had B. It's just the depth of this field just feels pretty good. We didn't even mention the maiden, number 11, Bourbon Heist, who almost beat Major General, and then 2-back almost beat Midnight Worker. So he went up to Saratoga and lost by a head and a neck in 2 special weights. The comment on any love for Lucky Boss there by Joshua. No, not really. But I guess he's another one in the field that's got a shot. It's the one thing I'll say about him. McPeak seems to run well in these races at Churchill with the 2-year-olds. So if you're looking for a long shot, I mean, I guess that's kind of the angle you could play. But yeah, I mean, there's some sneaky horses in here. So there's a lot of ways you can go.
Yeah, the thing about McPeak is, sometimes I've had so much success it's like if he's 10-1 plus in one of these kind of races, I've made money off of it. Like if he's like if he's 8-1 or so or lower, I don't mess with him. But when he's got a higher price with a horse that seemingly, you look at that horse and he's like, well, he's doesn't look awesome, but he doesn't look awful. Like he fits somewhat. We went second last time out in Ellis and won the time before that and came back. And, when he won in that maiden special weight, you beat 2 comeback winners. I mean, maybe he's all right. 10-1. Like I would use him if you can afford it, because like I say, I'm not going to go as far as saying I love Kenny, as Joshua says, but I do like using him when he's got a price, because I do think there's opportunity there. But like I say, I have no interest in playing him when he's got a favorite. I've missed bets on him. I mean, when he's won as a favorite, but I feel like more times than not I'm going to be right. So
he's the champion at winning with a horse that looks like this on paper. And
yeah,
what I mean by that, a horse that's like, I mean, maybe he'll win with a horse like that. If you get too high on a Kenny McPeak horse, that's when he loses for sure. But a horse you go, yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird if that horse wins, but I could see it. Yeah, that horse will win.
A couple of years ago, 2018, I was just looking at the past winners again. I cashed in. Remember, I picked Carol Cat to win that year, and he was 17-1. Kenny McPeak, of course. The horse, just very similar. The horse ran 2 times at Saratoga, but prior to the race, I want to say they were one was on the dirt maybe, or one on the turf.
They were
but
turf.
The horse, sure. And the horse with 17-1 obviously came back to win, never won a race again. Okay.
Yep.
Didn't win at Saratoga the next year, because the horse never was seen again until the next year at Saratoga. Lost. Ran the Smarty Jones at Parks, lost. Ran in the Oklahoma Derby. I mean, the horse never even sniffed the winner's circle after that. So, point is, sometimes it makes sense. Most of the time they don't.
No.
All right, let's move on to. So yeah, you and I are both on the 6 Stellar Tap. My heart is going to be rooting for this one big time. By the way, it's halftime. Couple. I'm going to jump in with a couple updates here. It's halftime. It's 14-10. Heineke, man, looks really good. Of course, they are playing the Giants, but they're at 14-10, 162 at a touchdown. Daniel Jones, man, 73 yards on the ground and a touchdown. There's this guy. And by the way, just so you know, because you were wondering, and the people might be wondering, currently cannabis is not legal for medical or adult use purposes in the state of Kentucky. However, Kentucky residents may legally purchase and possess CBD products, of course, like normal. So it is not legal currently. Okay. So I don't know what he's smoking, but it's not it's not the weed.
It's good to know. It's good to know.
Yeah, next time we're out in Kentucky, just so you know. Don't get your hopes up. Let's see. Let's go to Woodbine for the Woodbine Mile. And again, there's some great racing at Woodbine. Of course, the Canadian as well. We're not going to talk about that. We're just doing strictly Breeders' Cup races. But if you go to racingnews.com, we'll have picks for all those as well. All right, 3, 2, 1. Let's head to Woodbine for race 10, the Rico Woodbine Mile Stakes Grade 1, worth $1 million for 3-year-olds and up, going 1 mile on the turf. Field of 10 lines up here. It is a Breeders' Cup winner in event for the FanDuel Mile. Dude, this one, okay, so maybe we're starting. We moved up our thoughts a little bit there in terms of what we viewed the Iroquois. Maybe we can get on board here a little bit as well, because it does seem like, set piece, a horse that I know you really like. Raging Bull, Chad Brown, and Frankie Dettori jumping aboard. Interesting move there at 2-1. Raging Bull, set piece. Riley Comets in here as well. Marciar, Slippick Runner. A lot of horses we know. But to me, it's between set piece and Raging Bull. Who do you got?
Just when you think it's like, okay, Raging Bull, we're finally done with him. Then he gets Frankie Dettori to ride. It's
He
like,
gets one of the
God
best
damn
jockeys in
it.
the world.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, son of a bitch, you know? I didn't go with Raging Bull still. I think Dettori might have to be a magician to get this horse to win a big race. Listen, that's not at Keeneland, I should say. Okay, I'm super happy. Here's why. Florent Giroux is at Churchill. Good job. That's smart. Stay there. Set piece, my boy, my pick right now to win the mile gets Rosario. I love this. He fits this horse super well. A closer on the turf with Rosario. I saw this and I went, oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And you know what the greatest thing about it is? If he wins this race, I think they gotta let him keep the mount for the Breeders' Cup. So this is a
It's
massive.
like, please.
I'm telling you, and I'm not. You might, if you're watching and you think this guy or listening, you think this guy's an idiot. What's it? This is a massive race for Set Piece. Massive race. He needs to win this because he needs Rosario at the Breeders' Cup. He really does. You might think I'm overstating it. I really believe if he's going to win at the Breeders' Cup, he has to have Rosario. And to keep Rosario, I think you got to win here. I'm picking Set Piece. I've got a lot of confidence in Set Piece here. I think he's better than this field anyway. And I think that the switch to Rosario just fits this horse well. I really, really, really don't want to be cussing Rosario after this race is over.
Are you ready for this? Because this might shock you, but I think Set Piece. Yeah. I think Set Piece out of the 6 races we're talking about tonight on today's Blinkers Off is the lock of the 6 races.
I agree.
That's my pick, and I've never been a Set Piece guy. You are, and I'm always trying to beat. I beat Set Piece last time we got Stormy. I think I picked someone like Ott Brown and the Wise Dan, so I probably got beat by him there. Point is, I've not been like a big fan of Set Piece going in. I to pick against him last time out tells you everything because this horse probably should have won. I went back and watched the 4-star Dave over and over. Of course, I had got Stormy. I was pumped about it. Great pick. But you watch that race closely, and Set Piece, man, like Flo had that guy, like he was high-fiving guys on the turn, on the outer rail, like fans watching the race. He was high-fiving them, and I get it. That's how far he was on the outside of the turf course, even onto the dirt track, high-fiving them, and then jumped back in. That's how far out he was. Like, dude, and then once the horse got going, I mean, the horse is closing like a freight train. I mean, God, Stormy got the brilliant trip. It's hard to say, but I think it would have been a hell of a lot closer. Like, if Set Piece wins that race, like, you're feeling even more confident. You get Rosario, who's going to give you the ride that you want. I'm hoping, I'm praying that you get Dettori on Raging Bull, and it just deflates the price, I guess, and kind of gives you more value on number 5 Set Piece, because I think that horse is going to win.
I don't want to take anything at all away from Got Stormy, who ran just a bang up, fantastic race. I don't know that Set Piece would have beat her. It would have gotten very close. But like you said, he was not going to be able to beat her with that trip. He was flying late. He lost nothing in that race, in my eyes. He still, I thought just as high of him then as I did, or now as I did going into that one. Gosh, I really hope we're not talking Rosario into a bad ride here, because I saw this. I swear to God to you, I saw Set Piece was entered. I saw it on Twitter first because I think Brad Cox Racing tweeted it out. And I thought, oh, God, I'm probably going to pick this horse, and there's no telling what's going to happen with the trip. And then I get into handicap the race. And I literally said out loud in my empty office, thank God, when I saw Rosario on the horse. So I don't know. Sometimes when you think everything's perfect like that, that's when something weird happens. But I'm with you. I totally agree. You said you think this is the most likely of the 6 races that we are going to talk about today. This is the most likely winner, and I agree.
Well, listen, it'd be between Set Piece and the last race, Stellar Tap. And I think I have a little more confidence in Set Piece here. Yep. Flo's rode this horse all year. I mean, really, since I guess it has been all this year, which has been like 6 starts in a row. Rosario has rode the horse once in his career. Of course, that was a long time ago before the horse was what he is now. So him back on board. I think he's going to give you a hell of a ride. The distance. I don't know. Do you? Are you wondering that is the mile too short? Like, is you think it's a tad short for him?
Nope, I think it's perfect.
I think he's fine with it, but I'm a little. I don't know. If he seems like he is coming again and a little late again here, because you look at his numbers, number wise, he ran his best race of the last 3 races. I mean, this horse has ran triple digit buyers his last 3 efforts set piece, including a 101 where he lost to God Stormy. And so, I mean, the horse is is doing everything he needs to do. He just didn't win last time out.
I'll say this: if it is a little short, I think the configuration of Woodbine will help kind of negate that issue. That stretch is awfully long, and that's what he should really enjoy. So if it is a little short, I do think being at Woodbine will help this horse. But I really think a mile is going to be fine.
All right, so we're both sitting here on number 5 set piece. Raging Bull's in the race as well. You got to think that this has got some major implications for the Breeders' Cup, and that it does, because we're sitting here with you have this race as a B. I have it as an A-. So me especially, but we're both very high on this race producing some sort of implications towards the Breeders' Cup.
So here's why I put it as a B. If set piece isn't the one coming out of it, I get not as much interested in some of the rest of these when it comes to the Breeders' Cup. Now, I'm not shitting on this field. I think it's very, very good, but I don't know if it's not set piece. I'm not sure about these other ones. I mean, March the Arch, Ride to Comet, Olympic Runner, Raging Bull. Yeah, sure, throw that horse in there. Good horses, really good horses. Don't want them at the Breeders' Cup so much. Set piece has me interested, so I put it as a B. I may have been a little too hard on it, but I'll stick with it as a B.
As it sits today, I mean, Smooth Like Straight, God Stormy are winners for the Challenge Series. Princess Grace, Raging Bull, of course, set piece. Mo Forza, Venetian Harbor. Those are all some of your Ivar. Just going through a list, some of these March to the Arch, Order of Australia, some of these that are on the Breeders' Cup website in terms of contenders. But to me, set piece, he's got every shot to win the Breeders' Cup. And if he's in this race, it's got to have strong implications. So that's why I ranked it an A-. Raging Bull, again, he is what he is. But if he goes and wins here, I mean, obviously he ran really good to kick off the year for him. What was that? At Keeneland, wasn't it? The Makers, the Makers Mile. So, ran a huge race. He's capable of it. So if he goes and wins here and runs really well, it's like, well, I mean, he's definitely a legit contender for the Breeders' Cup. I mean, he has to be as Chad Brown on the turf. If Dettori, I don't know if Dettori would stay, but he might. I don't know. If the horse has been working out great. So you never know. And I think so that's why. And it's the Woodbine Mile. It produces. It's a solid race every year. So yeah, I give it an A-. I do think what you see out of this race, whether it be, Chris, you like Olympic Runner a lot. I mean, if Olympic Runner wins, I'll lower mine down to a B- in terms of the implications of the race. I don't think he's a bad horse. I just don't know if he's Breeders' Cup implications. You know what I mean? Breeders' Cup level horse for sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of horse. I'm going to do the product tomorrow, so I haven't got past the winner, and I've kind of roughly sketched out the pick 4s and stuff. I'm going to single set piece. As far as underneath on the tries and exactas, I've been trying to decide, and Olympic Runner is one of them that I'm toying with on paper right now. I don't know what to make of him. I can't fully get behind him. I'll probably end up playing him underneath. Cassie at Woodbine, I don't think you can go wrong there. So I'll probably play him underneath. I don't think he can win, though.
The thing about it is he's, I mean, I would say he's a Woodbine specialist, but he only won once at Woodbine in 7 starts. you look at like, okay, he won, he looked good last time out, got a 98 buyer. I mean, but he got, 3 back, 4 back, he's at Belmont getting just curb stomped. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
against not, Cossack Creek, Flavius, value proposition. I mean, whatever. So it's like not really, it's like, I don't know. I think he might be pretty good at Woodbine on those low, the lower level days. Come get the big boys in town or go out of town. Things might be a little tougher for that horse. So that's why I'm kind of on the fence with him as far as this race, especially not with him moving forward. So, all right. So you and I are both on set piece to win here. And we both have this race as a pretty strong. I have an A-. You have it as a B in terms of implications. So we both sitting here think that this race is going to prove something for the Breeders' Cup. UT sucks.
Yes, they do.
They do suck because
they're bad. It's funny too.
Yeah, you love it.
Yeah,
that's what I told Halterman after, because he was at the OU game, so he wasn't really able to watch the game itself. And of course, being an Arkansas fan, I was watching the game, and I was like, listen, I was like, this is more about Texas being just completely inept than Arkansas. I mean, Arkansas played a good game. It's great to have a win like that, but it's like, this was like, Texas was awful. And then you watch the game back and you're like, yeah, that was really bad.
Well, yeah, my dad kept saying, you don't understand. You don't understand how terrible they are. And I was following my phone. I was like, I can see they're pretty fucking bad. But yeah, I did. I watched the game and it's like, they look sick on offense, like in a bad way, like just pathetic.
Hey, Halterman, did you know that we have a wager guide coming out next Saturday for the Pennsylvania Derby?
I do. And I'm so excited for it.
That's right. The Pennsylvania Derby. First time ever in Racing Dudes history. The Pennsylvania Derby will be a wagering guide at racingdudes.com. Halterman texted me the other day. So, you know what? These fields are shaping up to be quite nice in Pennsylvania. We were there a few years ago for the race. And, of course, the year that we're not there, this race is showing up. But, hey, listen, this looks like a prep for a couple of big-time horses. Of course, Hot Rod Charlie's coming back. We'll see what he's like. Well, let's do a guide. So we will have a wager guide available next weekend for the Pennsylvania Derby. It'll be a huge card, not just that race itself. Look for that on the website. We'll also have the Keeneland Turf Mile in October for Keeneland, of course. So that'll be a wagering guide. And then the Breeders' Cup wagering guide coming up. We've already started working on that. Kind of the layout, and not the layout, but like kind of the horses we're looking at, the way we're kind of building this out, trends. If you look at the website, racedudes.com, I've already started working on some trends. So go check out some of those articles there. But all this is the time to be a subscriber. If you are a Premium Pick subscriber, you get all these wagering guides absolutely for free. So this would be a great streak to stay on board and get all these wagering guides absolutely for free. You just get them right to your dashboard. You don't have to do a thing. All right, let's go to Woodbine again on Sunday. Let's go to race 8 and the Thomas Stakes. We got some juvenile races to get through here. The Thomas Stakes grade 1 with $400K for 2-year-old fillies going 1 mile on the turf. These two races, the Tama and the Summer, are always two that I mean, obviously we were watching, but always I kind of looked for, because it seems like you get the juvenile is always every year, especially the juvenile turf. We talked about this last week's show. It's always a wild mess, right? Trying to figure out who you like on these juvenile turf races. So you kind of get an idea. Who's Chad Brown bringing in? What are they going to, what's he like here? Maybe some of the international horses. Especially the juvenile fillies turf. I know that one's been tough as hell to figure out. What do you think of this race? Because the 10 horse, right? We got to talk about the 10 horse, Imminent Victor. I talked about what Chad Brown's bringing in. I was looking at this race last night, and it was like 1 o'clock, 1:30, and I knew you were asleep because I know you go to bed at like 9. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I wanted to text you so bad because I'm like, this is blowing my mind. This is a Mr. Z horse on the turf for Chad Brown, Michael Dove, the Oakland Group, like some of his main guys that he trains for bought this horse after the horse won at Arlington Park on debut in July on the synthetic. They bought this horse, okay? Moved to Chad Brown. The horse has been training on the turf at Saratoga. And oh, by the way, they get a guy named Flavian Pratt to ride, who's only riding a one horse the whole day at Woodbine on Sunday. And it's this one. Like, it's blowing my mind. It's Mr. Z. It's not like it's some great sire producer or turf producer. It's Mr. Z, who obviously never ran on the turf and has produced 0 turf winners. Has produced nothing, basically, as a sire. His sire fee is $2,500. I mean, I can't even wrap my head around what's happening here with this horse.
It's incredible that this horse is here. And the human connections are just crazy. Chad Brown and Flavian Pratt, it's really quite unbelievable to think that this horse is here. Mr. Z, we were looking him up earlier. He's had 5 winners so far. One was at Mexico. One was a maiden claiming race at Gulfstream Park. One was this horse. And then the other 2 broke their maidens at Belterra Park and Evangeline Downs. Not exactly a sire that's really hot right now. And I don't think he's selling a ton of horses at the Keeneland yearling sale right now.
I'm going to say no.
Even though he's standing right across the street where those horses are selling from, he's
guy.
just looking out at the field and thinking, I'm not over there. But anyway, he is just a mystery, or she is a mystery. So I think that the 10 is one you certainly have to throw on a ticket. Here's another big thing. So Chad Brown, his best turf horse on the female side, supposed to be anyway, was Expand the Map. And Expand the Map was bet down big time at Saratoga and got beat by the number 2 horse, Pizza Bianca. And now Pizza Bianca shows up here for her next start. Expand the Map was entered as a maiden in the PG Johnson at Saratoga. Unfortunately, that race got rained off the turf, and that really hurts us, right? Because then we could have known, okay, is Expand the Map, was she good enough to win that stakes? The fact that Chad Brown entered her there tells me he really likes that horse, didn't lose any confidence in her because she lost. And now Chad Brown says, you know what? I'll take this other horse that I just got by Mr. Z, and I'll run her against Pizza Bianca. Okay. So obviously the horse is supposed to be good, this 10 horse. I went with the 2, though, Pizza Bianca on top. As soon as that horse won, I stabled that horse up and said, okay, this is a monster. A last to first trip. Rosario on last time, Rosario on this time. I think Pizza Bianca is going to be tough. I'm super, super excited to watch her run here. I'm also excited for the Charlie Appleby horse, Wild Beauty, as well. So there's a lot to look forward to in this race. I think it's loaded.
Listen, I would love to know the conversation that took place with the 10, like how this came to be. Because it's not the horse ran at Arlington, you know what I mean? It wasn't like it ran at Saratoga and then they're like, oh, wow, let's take a look at this one. It ran at Arlington and it's purchased and then it goes to Chad Brown and they immediately put the horse on the turf. And it's like, you don't, so then again, there's like, what? It's a horse, Mr. Z, you're not thinking, this is a good turf. I mean, yeah. So, and then you're thinking, okay, well, maybe the horse trained pretty well on turf. We could run the horse. I mean, just something, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be a Breeders' Cup win you're in. Like, so it's hard. It's mind boggling to think this horse for Mr. Z to be as bad of a sire as he is, especially on the turf, for the horse to be nothing. Imminent victor, have no like zero, like there was no hype or the horse. And by the way, we didn't mention this. The horse won on debut at the main special weight at Arlington Park at 40-1. Okay, so it wasn't like the horse was bet down at even money and it's like this had this ton of hype and lived up. I mean, the horse was a huge upset in this race. So literally, the horse has never ever had any upside or any like interest at all. And now he's running she's running, I'm sorry, in a grade 1 win you're in for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies turf. So just such a gap there of how this came to be. It's fascinating.
This is a Mr. Z horse, first time out, a trainer nobody really ever heard of. jockey nobody ever heard of, on the synthetic at Arlington Park. Why would the horse not be bet? or why would the horse be bet, I should say. So she's interesting. I don't know what's going to happen with her. I didn't have the balls to pick her here, but she certainly, it wouldn't be shocking based on the human aspect of this. Flavian Pratt comes in just to ride this horse. It'll be interesting to see if this actually happens. Like, would you be shocked if like you get on to look at the scratches Sunday and it's like jockey change for the 10?
Right? I know.
I don't know. It's weird. You texted me about this morning, and I hadn't looked at it yet, and I thought, God, that is weird. So we'll see. This is a fun race for me. Can't wait for it.
So ultimately, I couldn't. She'll be on every ticket because there's no way I'm letting like that. If a horse freaks or like, I cannot wait to watch this race. But I ultimately picked number 2. I'm with you, Pizza Bianca, because that's what I was going to pick going into the race. And then that, kind of as I dove into the 10, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so weird. But yeah, the 2. I mean, obviously, when the horse ran like that at Saratoga, you make note of that, and then the horse shows up here. It's a Bobby Flay owned horse, bred the horse. It's Clement. I mean, it's kind of a cool story. And you get Rosario that's back aboard. And like you say, you beat a horse like a span the map. And I just think this horse has a lot of upside. So I like the 2 as well. I think there's a few in here. Of course, you got the what is that horse? The 5 Wild Beauty for Appleby, Dettori to ride, which we talked about a little bit. See, Appleby could have a huge weekend, and just again, you don't know this horse ran second in Newmarket, ran second, has ran pretty well like her entire career, a Frankel horse. So, what do you think of the depth? You mentioned this race has got a lot of depth to it, a lot of upside. What do you think of the race as it looks for the Breeders' Cup?
Hey, I gave this one an A. I really think the winner's going to come out of this. I think it's loaded. I really like the prospects in here. Pizza Bianca, like I said, stabled that horse up. I was excited about her. I'm excited that Appleby brings one over. I don't think he brings one over unless he's pretty serious about bringing this horse to the Breeders' Cup. And then the mystery horse there on the outside for Chad Brown. I love it. I give it an A. I think we're going to see a pretty good performance here.
Yeah, I went with B minus for a couple reasons. Like I'm not. I mean, we'll see what Pizza Bianca. Pizza Bianca wins again, really impressively. I maybe should have gone a little higher. Of course, the 10. Who knows? Like, I'd still have a hard time believing the 10 goes from what we know about her to winning this race to winning the Breeders' Cup. I guess it could happen, but that'd be just fucking nuts. But you have, of course, the Appleby. And the other side to it is who do you like in the juvenile fillies turf? You know what I mean? Like what is there to like in that so far? There's nothing that gets you excited. Certainly not from our side of the country, in our country. So maybe it's Pizza Bianca, So that's kind of why I didn't go too heavy on it like you did, but I also gave it enough to say, okay, I think this could have something because we are just completely lacking anything, frankly. So I got a B minus on the race. You've got it's an A. All right, let's go to the last race we're going to talk about here, and the last race, or the second, the race right after this one, race 9 of Summer Stakes Grade 1 at Woodbine on Sunday. Again, these 2 races are on Sunday, worth $400K for 2-year-old males going 1 mile on the turf. Field of 9 lines up for this one, and no Chad Browns in here, but Cassie's got like 14 in the race. Then you got Appleby, who gets to Tory as well again here on the 4-horse Albahar. Sure. What do you think of that horse?
Yeah, I pronounced it Albar, but I don't know if that's right or not. Yeah, the 4-horse. Listen, it kind of feels like Albar is gonna maybe romp here. Like, I don't really like this field all that well. This horse has won 3 races in a row overseas. I've got some question marks on some of these other ones. You've got to think those races overseas were a little tougher than what these horses have been facing over here. One last time out at this distance. European horses usually run really, really well at Woodbine. So I'm going with the Appleby horse here for Godolphin. I'm going to go number 4, Albar. And I think this is going to be a pretty good sized win for this horse.
Yeah, listen, I honestly, I didn't really like the Albar, the 4 horse a ton, but because he's like, but the horses won 3 in a row overseas, and like they were good races or big races, and there's allowance and small tiny stakes race, but doing so pretty impressively. And what can you say about what's in the race? And obviously, if Applebee's shipping the horse over, and Dettori's riding, you got to think, okay, probably need to make note of that horse. And again, what do you like in here? Like if one of the mini Bart Cassies, we've talked about that. I guess the one that again, it's kind of similar to the last race, other than the random Chad Brown in the race, where it's like, okay, if you don't like the new shooter, so to speak, from overseas, the Appleby is it dripping gold? Like, this is a horse that we saw at Saratoga, won at Saratoga. Shug trained Rosario. We talked about Rosario. He's on this one here. What do you think of dripping gold? Could this horse be good enough to win here?
Sure, it could be good enough. Any Shug horse that wins on debut usually is a really, really nice horse, and this one did. Yeah, I'm going to play this horse. I am going to play this horse. I think this horse is pretty solid, and won by 2.25 as well. That won the first race of the day on Whitney Day at Saratoga as well. So yeah, I'll play this horse right back here. But I don't know that any of them are going to be good enough to match up with that European horse coming in. But say the 4 doesn't run very well, or I've got him overrated. The 1 certainly is a very logical horse that could pick up the pieces and win this race.
Yeah, it just seems like the 4 to me. When I looked at kind of picking that Euro, I thought the Euro here, Albar, seemed a lot more possible to win than the one in the last race. So that's where I landed on the 4 horse Albar as well. But we'll just jump right to the implications. I've got this at a C. You've got it at a D. Got it even worse. The Breeders' Cup implications. This one, maybe we know a little bit more about on the male side of the juvenile turf, who we like, or at least who we think we might like. So maybe this one seems a little tougher to kind of sneak into.
That was kind of my thing. I may be too hard. It probably is more like a C, but I'm just kind of wishy-washy on what this field actually is. I don't know about the depth yet. This one could surprise me. I will definitely say that. But I really like a horse named Annapolis, who broke the maiden at Saratoga on a closing weekend. I think that was closing Saturday, or the last Saturday, I should say. I really like that horse, and I don't think these are quite as good as him. So for now, I give this one a D. I do think this is the one that could surprise me, has the best chance of surprising me. But I didn't think this was a particularly deep spot here for these horses.
Yeah, I mean, I left it at a C just because it's like, I really truly don't know. It's like right in the, I'm giving you the middle grade because I just don't have enough feel for this division, whether or not, and honestly, a horse like Albar, I mean, yeah, for Godolphin might be really good, but how good is the horse over here? How good is the horse really? I mean, Dripping Gold, how good is that? So I just maybe I could see Albar being like, okay, like that horse has a good shot in the Breeders' Cup because that horse really ran huge. And who do we have? Maybe it's Annapolis, but if it's not Annapolis, who do you like? So I left it at C. I think it's right in the middle. I don't have high hopes, but also I'm not super negative on it either. So anytime the summer and the Tama come around, like I said earlier, I'm always interested because I want to see if something pops out. And I think you got two races that you could see at least one Breeders' Cup winner, possibly. So it's worth watching. But you and I are both on the 4 Albar. All right.
We'll wrap it up.
Turn the game off because I was getting tired of watching it. It's 4. They kick a field goal after.
Yeah, it's 14-13. It's bad. I mean, the Giants are just bad.
What was the total on this game?
The total was 40.5. So it's right. It's going to be right at the number. I think the Giants have the better players, I should say, but they just make so many mistakes. It's unbelievable. And Washington, they're not doing a whole lot, but they're not making a ton of mistakes.
Yeah, I don't know. I just can't. I'm not a big fan of either one of these teams.
No, they're awful.
I think Washington, I mean, defensively isn't awful. They're sometimes fun to watch, especially that defensive line. But shit, they're not great.
Yeah, they're not.
Chase Young? He's a freaking monster.
Yeah, but they're not. They're good up front. They're not good. Yeah, I don't think they're very good on the back end.
All right. 3, 2, 1. It's all the time we have. Check us out at racingdudes.com for our free picks and our premium selections on our handicap products page. The products button on the racingdudes.com menu. Get premium. Click that button. That's all you got to do. You can get to all our premium picks at racingdudes.com. Of course, mentioned the Breeders' Cup Wagering Guide coming out soon. We have the Pennsylvania Derby Wagering Guide out available next weekend. Of course, the Keeneland Turf Mile next month. Tons of wagering guides coming out. We'll have tons of content. Of course, the live bankroll will be back for the Breeders' Cup. So we did well for you guys. The Travers will be back to try to hopefully keep that momentum going for that as well. So, I mean, if you've never tried the wagering guide, I really urge you to give one of those a shot to see, especially before the Breeders' Cup, because obviously the whole goal is to have your bankroll going before we get to the Breeders' Cup. So stay tuned for those. Again, if you haven't, we're watching the football game right now. Dudes Who Bet Sports. Check out the podcast. Give that a shot with Halterman and his dad. Of course, have you guys had? I know I haven't been invited, but I mean, have you had any guests on yet?
No guests on as of yet. We do talk to Ricky a little bit on the Rocket Hour. I talked to him about football, but no guests on the Dudes Who Bet Sports just yet. We're trying to get the format right, and I think we did today. I think we finally got kind of what we need to do going forward. It's different. Doing a sports show is completely different than a horse racing show. So we were taking some stabs at what would work best. So I think we've got it going now. So now we can kind of expand into having guests on and doing things like that. But we had to figure out what we were doing first.
Yeah, and again, that's the podcast is just a part of our sports page. racingdudes.com/sports. RD Sports is what we're calling it. And this is going to have all your coverage of sports, college football, of course, and NFL right now are going to be big time. But of course, as hockey and things like that, keep that going. NBA, college basketball, all that will be on there as well. Just, our thought process is, hey, we're pretty good at picking horses. We bet sports all the time. We just hey, we might as well just do that too. So, we've got guys who do, between with you, me, Samich, Ricky, Magic. I mean, that's the thing about horse players. Like, we mostly are all betting sports too. Like, we just are. And this is like, we do that as much as we love horses. We bet sports too. Any chance you'll do UFC picks? Well, I know Halterman and I watch the UFC more than Halterman certainly does. Oh, wow. What a pass. What a pass. Who was that? Slayton? Hey, Daniel Jones out there. Look at him. Just balling. No, I know I watch UFC more, especially like the main ones. I would definitely not feel confident giving picks for those unless we might hire a guy to do it. That might be what, someone. That's the thing. We're not going to put out bullshit picks because, hey, we just like to do it. And, hey, let's just put picks out. We're not charging anything for them right now. It's just all on the website. We give picks. We're not going to put anything on that site unless we are betting that, we feel confident we're betting. That's what we're due. So if you see UFC picks out there, they will be because whoever it is, whether it be us, whether it be someone we hire, there'll be someone that we like, someone that knows it, someone that so to say, is there a chance? Yes, there's a chance. The whole idea is to make the sports side to be like the racing side, where we do sports, we do horses. We all know just you have downtimes in horse racing. So what are we doing? We're betting sports. So all your stuff, you never have to leave the site, racingdudes.com, right? It's all right there. Make sure you check out the Magic Mike show, or they did their show earlier. I want to say they did they do the late pick 4 at Churchill on Saturday?
Yep, late pick 4 at Churchill Downs, which included those 2 races we talked about there, the Pocahontas and the Iroquois. They got some strong opinions on those as well. She Dares the Devil, that race also in the sequence as well there. So yeah, I mean the Magic Mike show, pretty good show. I tuned into a little bit of it, and they definitely have some different opinions on those two stakes races for 2-year-olds. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, there's just a lot of ways you can go in those two.
Yeah, you definitely want to check out the Magic Mike show as well, on all your podcast formats, as well, because again, listen to them, listen to us, listen to Ricky on the Rocket Hour. If you guys, I don't know what you guys are talking about tomorrow, but listen to all of it and then kind of craft your own opinions. That's what we'd love to hear. So remember, this weekend is huge. 6 Breeders' Cup winner in races. You can check us out at racenews.com, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm trying to, anything else? Any final thoughts? Chiefs, they're going to roll this weekend, right?
Yeah, I had the Chiefs as one of my best top 5 bets. I definitely think they're gonna roll.
I can't believe they're
Are
they -3 or -3.5?
They're -3.5. Yeah, so yeah, I think they're gonna roll. It's a really really good weekend for racing. There is so much going on. I'm so much more excited this weekend for racing than I was last weekend, with Belmont having huge day, Churchill Downs back and having a big day, and then Woodbine a big weekend. There's a lot to look forward to. And then, yeah, I mean, you got football going. Obviously, it's a great time of year. One of the best time of years that there is, with all of it happening. But yeah, a lot going on this weekend. A lot of fun. I can't wait.
I can't wait, because Sunday is it's the first day. Because this past Sunday, of course, I have my boys. So it's I tried to watch. I have the Red Zone on the background all day long. So Daddy's trying to watch, but at the same time, other stuff going on. Of course, watch Chiefs game. But this Sunday, my ass is going to be the same position all day on that couch, and I'll be watching between horse racing and all the NFL games, and it's gonna be glorious, and I cannot wait. So it's gonna be a big weekend for racing and football. We're pumped. You guys should be pumped. I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. Good luck this weekend.